This is the Tech Phantom, and today I am going to be starting a walkthrough of Dark Souls for the PS3 with an emphasis on the downloadable content. And I have a Dex with a magic build in mind, but I will be taking your comments and your feedback as I proceed, especially if you guys have some ideas or thoughts that I hadn't taken into account, or if you make some good suggestions, or just based on what actually happens when I play the game. So I will be trying to post a couple of videos a week, and at least in one of those videos I will be asking a specific question, and your comments and your feedback are going to determine what how I progress through the game and what I do in the upcoming videos. So, I'm also going to be talking a little bit about lore. I am not super deep into the lore, but I have read a lot of the stuff that's available on the web. So, I'm going to give you my interpretation of some of the lore, some of the things that make sense to me based on the time that I've spent with Dark Souls. Some of it is going to be wrong, some of it is going to be speculation, some of it it's going to be completely different from what the community thinks the actual representation of the events are. So just be aware that this is going to be my take on the lore, and it could be a bunch of BS. Who knows? That's one of the cool things about Dark Souls, is that because of the way that the story is told. And the story is told indirectly through dialogue and through description of items. But basically that means that the story is going to vary from person to person based on how they tie things together, how they tie the dialogue, and how they tie the descriptions of the items and the interactions with the NPCs. So this is going to be a Dex build with a little bit of magic thrown in, and normally I do pure Dex builds, but I decided to do a little bit of magic because it makes things a little bit easier. And I am going to be using the Great Scythe, and I think it will become pretty apparent to you guys why I do that as I progress through the game. So let me talk a little bit about the movie, the starting movie here, the cutscene. So what's happening here is we're getting a little bit of the backstory of Dark Souls, and apparently there was a war between the 5 lords, and they were going up against the dragons, and the dragons were kicking butt, but Scythe the Scaleless betrayed his brethren dragons, and that pushed the tide of the war, and that allowed the dragons to be defeated. And we're also in this cutscene being told a little bit about the differences between being human, being hallowed, and being undead. And that is a little bit convoluted, and let me tell you, it took me a little bit of time to figure that out. But what I have, my interpretation of it is the following. If you are undead, you were born with the mark, and after you die, you become undead. You don't truly die. The undead are sort of in limbo, and eventually they can go crazy and they become hollow. And when you turn hollow, you basically turn into a desiccated mummy, and you go crazy and you just want to kill everybody. So you're basically a zombie, but instead of wanting to eat everybody, you want to kill everybody. So because the undead could potentially turn hollow and go crazy, they are sequestered in the Northern Dead Asylum, which is where our character is going to start. And this is actually our cell, and this is our character. Our starting class is a sorcerer, and as you can see from the cutscene, our fate is that we are undead and we have been put in the cell. So a pretty grim, pretty depressing opening, to tell you the truth. And our character looks, like I said, like a desiccated mummy when in undead form. Okay, so this is a knight, an undead knight that is trying to help us out, and he's thrown a hollowed corpse into our cell with some shining item on top of him, and that actually is treasure. So let's go take a look at that. It happens to be a key that is going to allow us to get out of the cell, so let's get out of here. So we hear some thumping, and that is a monster, a very large demon, pretty scary looking demon. So far we only have a broken sword, and we have soul arrow, 30 soul arrow. And if you played Demon Souls, then you know that we're going to be fighting that demon pretty soon, and we're probably going to be at a disadvantage, and it's going to be a relatively tough encounter for early in the game. So we're just going to make our way through this area here. Now in this patio, or in this area here, you are attacked by the demon. I immediately just went to the door to the left and continued on because that's the right way to progress. And here we've picked up a small leather shield, and we have an undead that's kind of shooting at us. We've picked up our dagger, which is really not a very good weapon. It's okay for backstabs and parry and riposte, but it doesn't really do much damage, and that's one of the disadvantages of the sorcerer class, which is probably the weakest starting class as far as dexterity, vitality, and strength. So I just avoided that boulder, which is the first trap of the game, and I opened that door. And it's important to open that door because we'll be coming back to this area, and that opens up a shortcut for us. And we are talking to this knight here. So apparently he's been injured, and I don't show it in this video, but if you were to look up here, and you could see where the sun is coming through, there is a hole in the ceiling. So apparently what happened is that the demon grabbed him and slammed him through the ceiling and injured him, and he's about ready to die. And so he's not a very good heroic character because it's the very beginning of the game. He's asking us to take over his mission, and he's already failed. So this guy may be good, but he's not very heroic. He failed miserably in his mission. So if you don't want to talk to him, obviously you can go ahead and kill him, and you will immediately get the Estus flask. And that is typically what I do, just to save a little bit of time. By the way, I should mention that because the dialogue is pretty long, what I'm going to be doing through this walkthrough is to briefly flash the dialogue on the screen so that you have enough time to read it, and then we will just cycle through it pretty quickly. If you guys want me to actually leave the dialogue up there and listen to the entire conversation, I can do that as well if I get enough comments requesting that. And by the way, I am doing this walkthrough based on a recommendation or a request from one of my subscribers, actually a couple of my subscribers. So after we do this walkthrough, if you have other requests for other things that you want to see in Dark Souls, I'll be glad to do them for you if I can. Alright, so we've started the fight with the Asylum demon. And for melee characters, what I recommend is to kind of hang out near his right thigh and just kind of chop at it. Now, we have a dagger, so we're not doing a lot of damage. But we do have a ranged attack, and I need to equip my catalyst here, which I did not equip earlier, but let's use our ranged attack. So we're going to use Soul Arrow, and I got lucky there. I got hit, but because I was underneath the handle of his hammer, I only took a portion of the damage that I normally would. And if you do have to dodge this guy's attacks, the Asylum Demon's attacks, you can do it as he's swinging down, and either swing back or forth or to the left or to the right based on your position, and we should be able to avoid his damage. Alright, so the other thing that I'm going to do in this walkthrough is I'm going to show you, I don't want to call them secrets, but things that I think that some folks may not know about. For example, there is a soul item right here. I mean, it's only 200 souls, but who knows, that, excuse me, that could come in handy. So I'm going to be showing you guys some of the I don't know, lesser known or sort of obscure items and some strategies and some tactics that I use to get through the game. And if you're having a tough time, like I said, because the DLC and the changes that were brought upon by patch 1.06, if you're having difficulty with your gameplay, this might help you, because that's exactly what happened to me. And I think I've adjusted, and I was originally pretty upset about the changes, but now I've adjusted and I'm pretty happy with the game. Alright, so we're gonna pick up some loot, and that's pretty much what we're going to do for the next for the rest of the video, and actually the first couple of videos. And here is our first NPC. We're going to talk to Petrus of Thorlin, and this guy is a little bit of a butthole. He's not very friendly. He actually tells us to get out of my face. I don't want to talk to you. But we come back, and he's a little bit of a wimp, and he actually gives us a copper coin. We'll go ahead and we'll join his covenant, just because I want to show you guys that you can get a gesture from him. And I'm saying that just in case there are some new players here that haven't played Dark Souls before, although I imagine that the majority of you guys that are going to be watching have played it before. But just in case you haven't, I will be talking about some of the basic mechanics of Dark Souls. So again, we're just going to pick up some loot here, and we are going to go into this elevator shaft. That will be a shortcut that we'll unlock in a little bit. And we are going to pick up some homeward bones, and those allow you to warp to a previous bonfire. And there's other loot here. There's a talisman, there is some Lloyd's talismans, there is a morning star. I'm just going to ignore those. I really don't need them in this walkthrough. But if you want to have them, especially the Lloyd's talismans, which are right here and which will prevent other players from using Estus flasks, or if you throw them at a mimic, the mimic will actually give up his item. That's a relatively useful item, so you can go ahead and pick it up, but I'm just gonna ignore it here. I am after souls, so I'm just picking up some souls, and I'm just rolling past the skeletons, and I could see the crow that brought us here from the Northern Undead Asylum. There's a little bit of lore that says that crow happens to be an NPC that will meet later in the game. I don't think so, and I will tell you my reasons for that when we encounter that NPC, and I think it will become obvious to you why I say that. And now we're back at the bonfire, and as you can tell, we now have 10 Estus flasks. Some of the bonfires in Dark Souls give you 10 Estus flasks, and some other ones give you 5. So the bonfire in Firelink Shrine is important because it does give you 10 Estus flasks. So we're just going to continue on our treasure hunting mode here, and there's the crow again. And by the way, you can hit the crow. He will fly away, but you can damage him, with if you can do some ranged attacks on him, usable. And you can actually use the Great Scythe and attack him too, and I'll show you guys that. And he will just fly away, so he can be damaged. So we've picked up some more souls here. And there's some additional souls up here, so I'm just going to pick those up again. By the way, this is where you would normally start the game, so this would be the correct route to start the game. I'm not going to do that because I want to pick up some loot first. And also, I do want to point out that I am a much more familiar and comfortable with melee builds. I'm not very good with range magic attacks, so this could get a little bit ugly, guys. If you see me fumbling with the dagger and then going back to the catalyst to do some range magic attacks with Soul Arrow and I get hit a couple of times, forgive me, I am not a magician. I'm pretty bad with ranged attacks of any kind. I rarely use bows or magic, so please forgive me. But Soul Arrow does happen to be handy to kill these rats. And rule number 1, and this is a rule that we're going to follow throughout the game, if you see a rat, you want to kill it. Kind of like if you're in New York and you see a rat, New Yorkers pretty much want to get rid of those rats because they're all over the place. So and the reason you want to kill rats is because not only are they ugly and unhealthy, but they also drop humanity. And humanity is a very, very important item in Dark Souls. Okay, so there's just a little bit more loot here. If you look over to the left, you see there's some treasure on that aqueduct. So we're going to take a flying run here and whoop! We're on the aqueduct, and this part always gets me a little nervous here. It looks like I'm going to fall, but we're okay. We got a Ring of Sacrifice. Now, this is an important item. It will allow you to keep your souls and your humanity if you're killed. So that's one use. Another use is, let's assume that you die and you didn't have the ring. If you put the ring on and you die on your way to getting your souls, the ring will shatter, but you will be able to continue to your bloodstain. So those are the two, I guess, choices or the two options as far as using the Ring of Sacrifice. But like I said, it will shatter if you use it. Alright, so here we're talking to this guy. He's another butthole. And I don't know what to think about him. I mean, he's being pretty sarcastic. He is making fun of us. He's giving us backhanded compliments. But he knows that we're being manipulated, or we will be manipulated by other NPCs in the game, and that they're going to make us think that we're Neo from the Matrix, that we have this fate, that we are basically the chosen one. But he knows better, so right off the bat, he's sort of in his way, he's trying to let us know that he knows we're not as good as we think we are, and I think that's why he's talking like that. Alright, and this is Anastasia, and this brings me to the first sort of question request of the game. I am going to let her live or die at the beginning of the game based on your feedback, so please let me know if you want Anastasia to live or die.